Now, how do you figure out what is the culture in a particular organization, or how do you see, or how do you get to know the culture of any organization? So now, is there anyone here on this call who's recently joined SAP, or at least remembers their time when they joined SAP, the first day that they joined SAP, or for that matter, any new team that you've joined in? No? Okay. So,
One year. I don't take any new year.
no problem. So typically, there are five elements which go in order for us as humans to identify what is the culture of a particular organization that we are in. So, for example, if you've just joined an organization, or if you've just joined a team, what do you typically do before you start interacting, or before you do anything, or before you start challenging anybody, or before you start providing your ideas? Typically, what you do is you see what is happening around. You see how people dress. You see how people address each other. You see how the interactions between people is it formal, is it casual, do people always dress up in formal attire, do they dress up in a casual attire, do you see a hierarchy, do you see people open, do you see people laugh around, joke around, or do you see people in a very calm, they just come and kind of get going with their respective works. So what you see has a big impact on identifying the culture of the organization that you are in, right? Then comes here. So what do you hear? Do people share ideas openly? Do people question each other openly? Do people, address each other formally? The earlier one is dress. Now it is address. So what do you see? What do you hear? What do people do, right? So, for example, if you are entering a team meeting for the first time, what do you see people do? Is everyone on the phones? Is everyone before the meeting having a chit chat? Is the chit chat within closed groups? Do you see here and people see people engage in banter only within their small groups, or is that open across? Uh, how do they address each other? And what kind of, for example, do is also in email, right? For example, do people copy everyone, and do people copy their manager on every single email that they send out? Do people take initiative and address whatever issues that they face, or do they wait for permission from their managers in order to, or their leaders, in order to take any action at all? So, what you see, what you hear, what you do. Once you have seen all of that, you can then make out, these are the next two are judgment calls, right? So the first three are physical reality that you can actually see, hear, and perceive. The next two, which is think and believe, which is the next one, is something that you make a judgment call out of. So what do people think? How do people think? So just like physical human beings, we have habits, right? So for example, if I ask you to fold your arms, there's always a way you will fold your arms. You cannot do it otherwise. So for example, when you button up your shirt, you always instinctually, habitually do either button up from the top to bottom or bottom to top. When you wear your shoes, you instinctually either wear your left shoe first or the right shoe first. Similarly, organizations also have patterns when it comes to how they think, right? So, for example, do they think within their teams or within the boxes? Is there creativity encouraged? Do people only think of their team and what is good for their team? Do people think of what they want to do, forget about the team, and what they want to, and think about what is good for them alone, or what is good for the team, or what is it good for the entire organization, or what is good for the customers? And then last but not the least is the belief system that this set of people have. So, for example, it is easy to change what people see. at that level, right? So it is slightly tougher to change at the level of what you hear people talk about. Slightly more difficult to change what people actually do and how they do it. Even more difficult to change how people think. Even more difficult to change what people inherently believe, right? So this set constitutes what the culture of the organization is, right? So in any new setting, for example, if you go to a new country, I'm sure before you start being open and your own self, you start looking at people, how they behave. You start, doing all of these in order for you to become acclimatized to that culture, in order to start then behaving and expressing yourself in that culture.